Hey everybody, welcome back to the Be Lucky Racing channel with me, your host, Daryl Carter. The Grand National video went down so well that I thought I have to do a runner-by-runner guide video. I have to give the people what they want. I'm going to go through every runner currently entered in the Grand National, and we're going to give a line on each. And then at the end, I'm going to ask you what your nap is. Yeah, what your nap is in the Grand National. Now, we all like to have a good few darts at this race, right? But I want you to put one horse down below, and I want you to give me a line on why they're going to win in the comments section. Okay, so let's go through from the top of the market to the bottom of the market, right? I've not prepared this whatsoever, so I'm going off, what I know about horses rather than sitting here and preparing for this video. Let's go through every single runner and have a look, shall we? So let's start. The Grand National, obviously, on the 11th of April this year, 4.5 miles furlongs, 500,000 to the winner with a max field of 34 runners. Number one, top of the weights, top of the bill, former winner. Maximus is currently at the head of the market. These are the best prices, 8-1 for Willie Mullins. Mark of 168, 10-year-old, no 10-year-old winner in the last 10 years at least. I haven't gone back any further than that. I like to keep it very relevant. This season when beaten 81 lengths by Gaelic Warrior, the eventual Gold Cup winner, and then ran a good second to Affordale Fury in the Savills Chase before a fifth behind Factifar in the Irish Gold Cup. Wasn't too bad of a run, but he did weaken at the finish. Can he do it again? I don't think so. Brilliant horse. Loved the way he won this race 2 years ago and then was second last year to Nick Rocket. He's probably going to be there or thereabouts, but the bookmakers are squeezing that each way value out of his price, and rightly so, I would as well, because he's sure to run in the first 5 or 6, isn't he? He might be a good bet for sort of an acca across the day if you're doing a place-only acca. Maximus, maybe a horse to stick in there. Jaguar, second favourite, 7-year-old on the upgrade. Good second to Johnny Who at the Cheltenham Festival last time in the Ultimate Handicap. Is entirely unexposed over this sort of trip, or over further than 3 miles. With that comes a little bit of a stamina down. But I think he'll stay. I like the way he travels for a race. I think he can quicken. He's a very good horse, a very smart, improving youngster in a field of mainly exposed runners. Has to have a big shout. Jaguar, second favourite. Grange Clare West on the drift a little bit, was favourite for this race. Another Willie Mullins runner, 11-1, currently off a mark of 166. He won 49 days ago at Fairyhouse, beating Jerry Colomb, and obviously was a brilliant third in this race last year to Nick Rocket. Again, another one of those horses where I'd probably looking, if I wanted to try and get a bit of profit out of him, maybe in the place market rather than the win market. I don't think the 10-year-old has got enough in the locker to go and win this. But what a servant Grange Clare West has been. Was pretty disappointing as a novice hurdler. Fancied for the Ballymore at one time, particularly by myself. And here he is at 10 years old, rated 166. So he hasn't had a bad career at all. Again, probably a solid place option rather than a win bet. Iroko is 12-1 for Oliver Greenall and Josh Guerrero. This horse has been kept lightly raced since his 4th in this race last year, behind Nick Rocket, behind Grange Clare West, and obviously behind Maximus. Reappeared at Haydock, where he was just given an easy time of things behind the Jukebox Man, and then went and won at Ascot. He went up from a mark of 151 to 157. That, to me, is a bit bad planning, really. They should have tried to keep him around that 151. All last year, he wasn't trying in races for the Grand National. This time he's gone out and he's been put up in the weights from 151 to 157. Can he go 4 places better than last year off a £5 high mark? Stamina is slightly unknown with him. I thought he travelled really well through the race last year. I thought he was coming there to win his race, and I didn't think he really had that finishing kick. But he's definitely there with a chance. Just an 8-year-old, still got a bigger performance in him, is the line I would have on Iroko. Haiti Kallur, 16-1, 9-year-old, pulled up in the Gold Cup, has found life difficult at the top table, but is an Irish National winner. Is he going to be able to dominate this race from the front? I'm not so sure. It is a very, very quick start as they all charge down to the first fence, and then you're sort of finding in position after the second fence. He's not going to have the luxury of having a bend on his inside constantly and having a wall of horses behind him. Haiti Couleur, I couldn't have him at 100 off 166 at 16-1. Johnny Who gave me nightmares last season and gave me nightmares again 32 days ago when winning the Ultimate Handicap, beating Jaguar. He is off a mark of 146 in here. He has to be considered because this is a classy, classy horse. He's been in and out for much of his career. He was fifth in the Irish National, travelled really well through the race. Again, didn't really look to get home in that deep ground. But maybe spring is the time to catch him. Second start after a wind-up. You cannot write off Johnny Who. Oscar's brother is 16-1 for Connor King. What a story it would be, Connor King and Daniel King, brothers. Only train two horses. One of them has been bought by JP McManus. This horse ran a blinder at Cheltenham in the Brown Advisory, finishing really strongly from off the pace. For a horse that usually makes the run-in, perhaps this has been the target. That was his sixth run. That was his qualifying run for the Aintree Grand National. Now, he's obviously towards the fall of the market for the Irish National. It'll be interesting to see if he lines up. If he comes here, massive chance. Monty Star hasn't really delivered for Henry de Bromhead, having looked like a promising novice chaser at one point. He's been well beaten this season, and I couldn't have him on my mind off a mark of 159. Nick Rockett returns to the race that he won last year. He's had one start that came at Down Royal, beaten by Jerry Colombe 6 lengths. An RPR of just 118. It's not an ideal prep for Nick Rockett, despite connections saying they saw enough of him there. Maybe his time has been and gone. Panic Attack, 10-year-old, has plenty to prove on the stamina front. Did have a good season winning the Paddy Power Gold Cup back in November. Ran okay at Cheltenham, beating 11 lengths by Dino Blue. But I just felt like they had her really wound up for the early part of the season. And I think maybe she's over the top now. She's a 10-year-old. She's got a lot of work to do. Captain Cody, an 8-year-old. Big price here for Willie Mullins, considering this lad won the Scottish Grand National last year, over 4 miles, and won it very cosily indeed. I thought it was a really brilliant performance from him. He's not been seen to quite as good effect since then in 4 runs. Fell behind now as the hour on his penultimate start, was 33 lengths behind Grangeclare West at Fairyhouse. But there is a bigger effort in Captain Cody, a highly, highly likeable sort at a big, big price. Captain Cody, just an 8-year-old, 152. There's a bigger performance in Captain Cody. Keep him on the radar. Gorgeous Tom, another 8-year-old for Henry de Bromhead this time. Was beaten 6 lengths by O'Toole at Leopardstown and was 4th behind Panic Attack at Newbury. Gives the impression that he wants a trip, but every time he's been given a stiff 3 miles, doesn't seem to see it out. I couldn't have him on my mind for this, but I'm sure a lot of people will warm to Gorgeous Tom, given how he runs on at the end of his races. Bear in mind, they're normally slowly run races. Stella Story, a 9-year-old, rated 153, was second to Lecky Watson in the Brown Advisory Novice Chase last year, but again has been beaten double figure distances, 17, 14, 21, 14 lengths on his 4 starts this term outside a novice company. Needs a much bigger effort than he's been showing right now. Burns is a very well handicapped horse when he puts it all together. He was a brilliant second to Caldwell Potter here at Aintree last year in the novice grade 1, and he just has been a bit of a no-show this season. He did show up quite well in the Goran Park Thyestes Chase, but I suspect all roads have led to the Grand National this season. He's off a fair mark. He gets some spring ground. He could go well at a big price. The 7-year-old Jordans for Joseph O'Brien, 28-1. Favori de Champdou, 11 years old, has been running brilliantly over the cross-country fences. Second to final orders at the festival, but this is a much stiffer task. Possibly one of those lesser place claims around 6th or 5th. Final orders was excellent at the Cheltenham Festival. He was definitely laid out for that. If you go back and watch his run behind Favori de Champdou, in January, Keith Donoghue did a really good job of not going after the winner, and he was much better than the 16-length beaten distance there. He could go very well as one of the older horses who just looks to be thriving at present 10-year-old, again, perhaps not for win purposes, but definitely a horse that's going to be on the premises when turning for home. Jerry Colombe is a great horse. You know, again, another one that's not really delivered what we expected him to. Was beaten by Grangeclair West at Fairy House, won last time at Down Raw, but got an RPR of 123 for that. I'm just not sure this is the force of old Jerry Colombe, and he would prefer slower ground. Now is the hour. Another one that might prefer slower ground come National Day was fifth behind Kitzer Bull in that Brown Advisory. Looked like a good Brown Advisory. Final Demand bounced back, didn't he? Kitzer Bull won. Salva did well in the circumstances. Oscar's brother there. But now as the hour does have a bit to prove when the ground gets a bit quicker. I think he lacks the pace of 1 or 2, and I think he's vulnerable. Bilan's Tower off a mark of 164. He has stamina to prove. That was a slowly run race. He won when beating L'Homme Presse in the Betfair Cotswolds Chase at Cheltenham back in January. And he's been pulled out on numerous occasions for the ground being too quick. Look out for conditions. Will they suit? He will want rain. Key de Bourbon is a horse that's been so disappointing in recent starts. He was third in the Irish National back in April last year to Haiti Couleur. He could, on that evidence, have claims of going close in this, but he is so difficult to predict. He has not completed in 4 of his last 6 runs. So it's very, very difficult to trust Key de Bourbon. So the Cafe is a 10-year-old now. Again, it's been sort of running around that grade 3 level, is about that as well. He's probably a 150 horse, hasn't got too much in hand of the handicapper. Banbridge, this looks like a roll of the dice for Banbridge, who ran okay at Cheltenham, went third to Hartwood, was really good at the Kempton King George. How will he enjoy these fences? I do not know. He jumps quite low. Risky proposition off 167 at the age of 10. Becky Watson is a bit of a forgotten horse for Willie Mullins. He's 50-1 in here. He was beaten 63 lengths by Grangeclair West last time out. In fact, he's not shown up well at all since coming over to Britain to win that Brown Advisory last year. Eaton Stellar Story when he was a 20-1 chance. He needs to give a bit more encouragement to be able to back him. You know, it's very difficult. 63 lengths beaten last time. Pulled up the time before, 14 lengths beaten Affidel Fury. 66 lengths behind Gaelic Warrior. Very, very difficult to have confidence in a horse like Lecky Watson. But if he popped up, you wouldn't be surprised. Percival Le Gaulois for Gavin Cromwell, rated 151, 50-1. This is another horse that on a going day is a very, very useful prospect. But that going day has become too difficult to predict. And in a race like this, I think he's vulnerable. Spanish Harlem, pretty much the same. Another Willie Mullins runner at 50-1, pulled up unseated, pulled up in his last 3 starts. But he did win at Listerwell, beating 3-Card Bragg in the Kerry National Handicap. That was a fantastic performance that day. And he is another one that's got a good effort in him. Will he really stay this 4 miles? That's a big question mark for me. 3-Card Bragg is probably a bit of a forgotten horse as well. He has done little wrong this season, really. In fact, he's had a really good season up until heavy ground at Ferry House last time in the Bobby Joe Chase when he was beaten miles by Grangeclair West. But if he gets into a good jumping rhythm, he could be there or thereabouts at the finish. He lacks a turn of foot, which is the slight worry, because as you jump the last, you do need to be able to sort of inject some sort of pace into the race, and 3-Card Bragg just lacks the gears. High Class Hero for Willie Mullins is another that it would be hard to give too much claims to. Pulled up on his last 2 starts at Gorham Park and at Navan. And before that, last year at Sandown, I suppose you could have given him claims on that run. He kept on behind Resplendent Grey in the Bet365 Gold Cup. That's over 3 miles, 4 furlongs. So stamina, I don't think is going to be too much of an issue for him, but he's a small horse and these fences just might take it out of him. Twig is an 11-year-old. I couldn't give him a chance. Champ Kiley, will he stay? This is such a talented horse, Champ Kiley. Maybe getting on some better ground over a longer trip where he can get into a rhythm and just jump and jump and jump might suit him quite well. He's a 10-year-old, but only on paper, really. He hasn't had too many starts for a horse of his age. He's only had 16 runs under rules. So, you know, he is a young 10-year-old, if you like, but still, up against it. Mr. Van Gogh, completely up against it. No chance. Am I right? Henry de Bromhead, been here with him before in these big field handicaps. You know, he was 4th last year to Gentleman de Me in the Topham Chase, and you know, it didn't scream national to me with this horse, and he's now 10. Anyway, for David Budds, 100 to 1 was well beaten at Musselburgh in a handicap hurdle last time, but was not too bad at Cheltenham behind leave of absence in October. He enjoys a top of the ground, so if the ground comes for him, he could be a horse that could go well, but he's not going to get in here, I don't think, off a mark of 139. So he'll have to go elsewhere. Beauport off a mark of 153, 10-year-old. Not going to be winning this. Blazed Away, 146. Will he get in? 100 to 1 for Miss Mags Mullins. Was obviously a winner earlier in the season over L'Empresse at Cheltenham in December in the Turner's Handicap Chase, ridden by Danny Mullins. Good story that was that day. The obvious Irish horse in the race that a lot of people missed, but this is too much for a tough task. Deep Cave's probably not handicapped to get in. Firefox has got a good chance, I think, at a big price at 100 to 1. He's an 8-year-old, so he fits the bill for in terms of age statistics for this race. Wasn't far behind Iroko at Ascot, and he did run on actually quite nicely in the Irish Gold Cup behind Fat to File. I thought he caught the eye a little bit there, and then he wasn't too bad 6th of 10 behind Gaelic Warren in that Gold Cup. But 4 miles is totally different to even 3 miles 2 at Cheltenham, and he found that slightly too stiff. But a flat track, good ground, should suit him. I think he'll travel away quite nicely. He might trade low in running. French Dynamite, no chance. Highland is interesting for Nicky Henderson, but Nicky Henderson doesn't really know how to win a Grand National. And this lad has been a bit of a pain, really, because the races he's won over 3 miles have pretty much been slowly run affairs where he's been able to dictate the race. So I am just not sold on stamina for Highland at this trip. Imperial Saints, I thought would have shaped a bit better than he did at Cheltenham, but he was badly hampered by a faller there. Maybe you could look past that. He's a horse that has plenty of potential. Will he get in off 144? I'm not too sure. L'Empresse, just absolutely no chance. No chance whatsoever. Marble Sands probably won't get in. Monbeg Genius probably won't get in. Pied Piper, no chance. The Real Whacker, this could be a turn-up, but he is 10. He's been off 100 days. It's over hurdles last time, beaten 40 lengths, 6-6. Beaten before that, but 33 lengths by Jello, 5th of 5th. That's maybe he's just peaked and now he's coming down the other side of the hill. Top of the bill would be interesting if he got in here off 147. This is a quirky 10-year-old, but he is quite talented and he's often underestimated by the market. Yeah, man, 143 won't get in. Buddy 1 won't get in. Harry Desongres will not get in. In fact, none of the rest of the field there will get in down to 52. So, how do we play the Grand National? Everybody's going to have their own opinions, right? So, I'm not telling you what to back and what not to back, but everyone will have their own opinions about horses that are going to run well or should win or that are overlooked. What I would say is try and avoid 10-year-olds, try and avoid horses, double-figure age gaps. Try and find something that you think is going to stay, because you can very rarely get confirmed stamina for this trip. Try and find something you think is going to stay, something that is, could improve for a flat track or getting back onto a flat track or spring ground, or go and have a look at the time of year that the horses have been running at, when they've been putting their best performance in and things like that. I think you'll do well to sort of avoid horses that have got good place chances, but can't win the race. So don't try not to be backing each way at big prices. I know it's tempting, but you really are wasting the win part of the bet. I'd probably have a look on the exchange and play the place. A lot of place markets. Look on even on your bookmakers, Bet365 or whatever. Go down to like 8 to 10 places or whatever, and try and look for an angle there rather than sort of doubling your stake up and losing the win part of your bet on a horse that is a big price, could place, but can't win. Don't make that mistake. This is a very, very competitive race, as it always is. I like Oscar's brother if he turns up here. In fact, I think JP McMahon has got such a strong hand. I think Air Maximus, Grange Clare West, Haiti Couleurs, I don't think those horses should be towards the top of the market. I'd much prefer Captain Cody, for example, an 8-year-old at 25s. over the likes of those. But yeah, it's a tricky race. I hope any of those lines on any of those horses have helped you out there. And I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in. Maybe we'll do another video on the day, or maybe we'll do it a day before the race. Let me know your nap, though. If you can only have one bet in this Grand National 2026, one bet, I'm not allowing you to have two or three, one bet, tell me who it would be. Tell me who it would be. Give me one line why, and I'll be fascinated to read the replies. Guys, if you want to become a Darryl Carter Patreon member, please do come and have a look. We're just about to start year 2. Year 1 ended 150 points profit, 13% return on investment. Year 2 kicks off tomorrow, and I'm quite excited to really build on the first year's service. It's been a blast. Be lucky, and I'll speak to you again soon.